So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. Just make sure, let's see if everything works. So for those who are already in the live, hello, let me know where you're tuning in from. I am today in Costa Rica still at home, but inside this time because the cicadas are so loud today that I got already a few complaints while talking on the phone. So I thought for the live, it might be a bit easier to do it from inside. So I'm in Costa Rica. You let me know where you are streaming in, tuning in from for our topic today. So hopefully it seems to work. I don't see anyone writing yet. Make sure you find the chat function because that's your platform. Because we will have first our topic where we talk a little bit about the citizen science expedition, but then it is your time to ask questions. Use the possibility to ask me any question you want to know about the Galapagos. Also very happy to take ideas for new topics. So I'm running low on ideas what you want me to talk about. I mean, I probably could talk hours about Galapagos, but I want to have topics that are interesting for you. So far, we have a couple of people joining. Let me know where you are coming in from. Where are you right now? I heard in some countries it's really, really cold at the moment. So yeah, anyway, there we go, Wisconsin, thank you. Okay, welcome to our topic, citizen science expedition versus normal Galapagos dive liveaboard. So often people ask, well, I see the itinerary is the same, the dive sites are the same, the wildlife is the same, the boat is the same. What are the differences? And it's a fair question because it's often not very often obvious what is the difference. So maybe let's start with the things that are the same. So both trips, you have the dive plan, the itinerary is the same. So you're going up for 3 days to Wolf and Darwin, where you have all the hammerhead sharks, the whale sharks, rays, fur seals, dolphins. I mean, everything you basically hope for in warm water. Then we're going to the western side, where you have the mullahs, the penguins, the whale shark, cormorants, penguins, other things. So that is basically in the western side. So the dive places, the dive itinerary, so you still get all your 4 dives, you're not losing on any dive quality, that's all the same. The comfort of the vessel is the same. So basically you be on the same vessel, you sleep in the same beds, you have the same crew, so all of that is the same. So you will say, okay, but what is then different? And I would often like to describe citizen science expedition as a Galapagos dive liveaboard with a few things on top. So you have the same diving, the same experience, but the most, I think, obvious difference is the shark scientist and active sharks researcher on board with you. So while you are diving, you're learning about what you're seeing. So you get a lot of information about the research done, your conservation issues, shark behavior. You get so much more value out of what you're seeing. It's so much easier to have a connection to something you understand. So that is obviously the most obvious difference. You are supporting actively on the expedition. So citizen science, what is citizen science? Citizen science is something that every one of us can do, every diver. No experience needed. Every one of us has often a camera or a GoPro or anything with us underwater and, for example, recording. What many people don't know is that certain areas of certain parts of the shark, for example, can be identified. So you can identify each individual whale shark, each individual manta ray, each individual molar, etc. You can observe their behavior. You can count how many sharks you see, how many different shark species you see, how many molars you see, how many different things you see, and collect this data. And that is the data that we need. And this data is going then directly to the researchers and they can work with it. So while you're diving, so nothing is changing on the dive plane whatsoever, but taking a video or just being more aware of what you're seeing and learning about what you're seeing, that is basically what you're doing. So you're watching sharks, and at the same time, you help protecting them. Then another big advantage, and that is very close to my heart, what's the reason why we started this citizen science expedition, is that all of our profits from those expeditions, as well as if you just book a trip with us, is going directly into shark and ocean conservation. So when you're booking a dive liveaboard, for example, so you can book it, with your local tour operator, with your local travel agent at home in the US or Germany or wherever you're coming from, or online on liveaboard.com. I think that's the most common one. I think liveaboard.com is in the Netherlands or so as an online operator. But if you're booking over those, we all get kind of a commission from the vessel you're booking on. And this commission can either stay with your travel agent in the US, in Germany, in the Netherlands, if you're booking on liveaboard.com, or it can go directly into the Galapagos Islands. And that is what we're doing. So the commission that we're getting, the profits that we are actually getting, is going into shark research. It stays in the Galapagos, and it actually does something good. So if that is, something you're looking in, where your money stays, where the profit stays, we donate basically all of our profits into the shark research. I'm very proud. For 2025, we were able to raise over 31,000 US dollar, which we now can use for the shark research this year. So for everyone who traveled with us in 2025 and before, thank you so much. Everyone who signed up already, you are really contributing to it. So thank you for that. Sustainability is for me a huge topic. And also the Galapagos National Park is protected. As you know, it's a marine reserve, and you will feel it. Oh my gosh, the amount, the number of animals that you can see is just incredible. However, like every national park, there are issues, if it's illegal longlining, if it's, different species that shouldn't be fished because there's a certain overfishing. It is important to be sustainable in the seafood that you're eating. And when you as a diver on board, you might expect, right, on a national park, you will have sustainable seafood on board, which most of the vessels do not serve. So I did manage to have on all of our trips now sustainable seafood. Obviously, that's always coming with an extra cost, which is included in your trip. But some vessels now rethinking and also taking this sustainable idea to their other trips as well. So there's a ball that got rolling, luckily, which is amazing. Not all the vessels, unfortunately, do it, but on our trips, we can say we have sustainable seafood on board and only sustainable seafood on board. And we do have the focus on sourcing locally. Any product that we can source locally, Galapagos is an island, so a lot of things are imported, for example, from the mainland, but we try to do it as sustainable as it is possible. Then talking about the vessel is the same. However, you have certain influences on the crew as well as dive guides. So for the crew, we do often have the possibility nowadays to say we would like this chef or this captain or this cabin steward, etc., etc. So we do have certain influences, which is amazing. The biggest difference, next to the chef, obviously, is the dive guides. So in every place, I think, where you go diving, and if you did already live aboard, you know that very well, there are differences. Some are good dive guides, some are not as passionate, etc., etc. And we are bringing our own dive guides, our local dive guides with us. Over the 10 years, we were able to find dive guides that are as passionate about the ocean and about Galapagos as we are, that have the knowledge, that are interested in conservation, and that love what they're doing. And that means your experience will be so different. If you have a dive guide that's around for all the little questions that you have when you're coming up from your dive, so which fish was that? And what shark species was that what we saw? And that is just such a different level of your enjoyment, but it's also meaning underwater, about safety. You want to have a dive guide, especially in the Galapagos, where you do not have to run the whole dive after just to stay with the group. You do want to have a dive guide that is able to adjust to the group and to your diving and to your needs. And we do have dive guides that are really good with the groups that, even in the currents, they make sure that they're staying, the current next to you. And basically when they are moving or wanted to move, they basically floating in front of everyone, making sure that everyone sees that we're moving. And so the group stays together. So it is adding a huge amount of safety and enjoyment, because you do not have to watch the dive guide the whole time because you're worried to lose the group. You can enjoy what you're seeing, and the dive guide makes sure that you see when he or she wants to move. They know the places very, very well. So in Galapagos, in our last live, we talked about it a lot. You have to adjust quite a bit. So the currents are changing, the conditions are changing, and you need a dive guide that is really, that knows the place well, can dive the place well. And we are selecting those who create a safe and good atmosphere underwater. And to the fact that I myself are very often on the trips, I want to enjoy it as well. So the difference in dive guides is just incredible. Obviously, the safety with that as well. And the feedback that we're getting from our guests is showing that it's definitely the right decision that we made so far. And then last but not least, when you're coming back off the dives, we often have different like little mini presentations, different talks, to give you more information about the Galapagos, the different shark species, about the shark research that we're doing, but also maybe discussing a little bit the conservation issues that we have, plastic pollution, different things that also influencing the not only the Galapagos Islands, but worldwide. And so there are different topics that we talk about, but we also will give you a platform to ask questions. So the shark scientists will always be with you, will be there for questions. So will be the dive guides, and they basically hopefully will create an area where you have no fear to ask any questions and always have someone to chat about certain topics. This year we also want to start the official PADI Shark Conservation Diver course, where we talk about those presentations anyway. A little bit more about behavior, the ecology of sharks, and if you're interested in it, you then also can apply for the PADI e-card as PADI Shark Conservation Diver. So how does a day in citizen science expedition looks like? We often get the questions like, hard to imagine what we're doing, how does it look like? And often it's a wake up quite early, because most of the days we will start with a dive before breakfast, which I personally love. I'm not a morning person, but I love to wake up, have a little coffee, and then start my day with a dive. I think that's the best for me. So you dive, you observe, you enjoy. So there's no, rush, no hectic. You're coming back, you often either review your photos or your videos, you have the dive guide and the shark scientist to ask questions, you're having your breakfast, you may be discussing, okay, which different shark species did you see? Maybe you discuss, oh man, how many was it? There's an app, for example, where we count the different hammerhead sharks and so on. So you then for example, putting your information in, how many sharks did you see, how many Galapagos, how many hammerheads, etc. So you're putting your data in if you want, and then you're often getting ready for the next dive. So up in the north, we're having 3 to 4 dives during the day. So we're doing diving, we're collecting data at the same time. And then often after the last dive, you have a little bit of downtime. Everyone, have time to shower. And then we have a gathering where you either can collect your data, put it into your apps, maybe look through the videos and photos. Maybe we were able to identify a whale shark, or maybe we had a tiger shark or so, which are now also able to identify. So there are different, like manta rays or molars, or so different animals that you also can see in different places. Shark scientists also need photos there. So it's not only that what you learn will be just for the Galapagos, that what you learn you can take to your next dive holidays. And it's so amazing to see how many of our divers that dive with us in the Galapagos are still sending us, photos either from whale sharks or other things, and then we can upload it to the international data bank. So, and after the last dive, when everyone had a little bit of downtime, we then offer, little short talks about different topics where you can get a little bit more information. That is obviously always optional. You don't have to, but it's just as I said, it's a Galapagos dive liveaboard with a lot of on top things that you might not see. So that is basically a day. And then, as I said, the shark scientist is around, always very happy to answer questions. So are the dive guides. And it's I think what the feedback from our guests is that they feel more connected to what they see underwater, because I think if you understand something better, it's so much easier to have a connection to it. Questions that often come, and I posted in the story, I think a little bit too late, which question you would want to be having answered. And you can already think about it, but some that are always coming is, do I need any special skills? Do I need any experiences, etc.? And the answer is no. You don't need a scientific study or, have to study beforehand. The only thing you need is passion for conservation and curiosity. Ask questions, because that is the way you learn. And we basically giving you the information on board. We showing you all the different programs that we want to do in the Galapagos, but we also will show you and give you ideas what other projects that you can support. So we had one guest that now traveled with us, I think 3 or 4 times already. And he didn't really understand why we're doing the citizen science. No, not that he didn't understand it, but he didn't really understand the purpose, and said, I'm living in Texas, and I don't have an ocean around me. And he came a few years after and said to me, you know what? I found a project close by. We have a river, and they found a research group that he's now supporting. And it's amazing for me to see that what you learn can be transformed to so many different places, because all over the world, it doesn't matter if you have the ocean close by or a river close by, there's so many projects where you can help in conservation. And every little step, every decision that you make during your day, if you reduce plastic, etc., everything will have an impact on conservation. And so yeah, coming back, no skills needed, just curiosity and passion. So how do you help scientists, really? So, often I get the question, does it really make a difference? And oh my gosh, you have no idea what difference it makes. Just for my perspective, for Galapagos Whale Shark Project, when we are identifying whale sharks, in order for us to have a field research expedition of 2 weeks, it costs us a huge amount of money, and we have to get a lot of funding to actually make that possible. But we observing 2 weeks out of 52 weeks in the year whale sharks. So that's the only 2 weeks where we see the whale shark, where we can identify the whale sharks and can see what's happening. What's happening with the rest 50 weeks? We wouldn't have a clue what, how many whale sharks are there, which identified whale sharks, how is the constellation aggregation, etc., etc. We would have not an idea. But every single week, every single day, there are people diving in the Galapagos up in Darwin. And the data that you are collecting with that is so huge for us, because we would not otherwise get it. So we're getting now a lot of reports, and we have one researcher in the team, and she worked very, very hard on getting all year round information from dive guides, from divers like you. And last year, 2025, was our, I think, biggest and really successful year. She managed that we had over 106 encounters, so reportings, and of those 100 were 72 new identified whale sharks, so never seen before. So 70 new whale sharks, which is just incredible. So we are now having a database in the Galapagos, just above 800 identified whale sharks. And now suddenly, as a researcher, we can starting asking questions. So, how often do they come back? How do they look like? Have there any injuries? Where they might have been, because maybe another person somewhere else in Mexico or wherever they go did the same and uploaded the same picture. So now we can then track animals passively and suddenly can ask questions about migration. How often do they come back? Is it a rhythm, etc., etc.? So the data that you're collecting by just taking a photo or video of a whale shark, which you do anyway because you want to remember this beautiful encounter. But this data is so valuable for researchers because we can't be there at that moment, and that's a huge advantage what you can do. So yes, you do help conservation and you do help scientists a lot. So it makes a difference. So to summarize all of that, I didn't want to talk that much, but I think this topic is really as you can feel, really close to my heart. So I don't want to stress it too much. I think if you're thinking about, okay, is a normal dive liveaboard in the Galapagos for me, or is really a citizen science trip for me? I think both is really good. You know, there's a lot of good things on the one hand, on the other hand. But for example, I often get the question, oh, I really want to join you and I really want to have the shark scientist on board, but I just can't travel in the months of July, August, September. So the peak season for diving, for shark diving in the Galapagos. And that is the only time when we offer our citizen science trips. They, want to travel in January or February. Then a normal dive liveaboard is amazing because you still support. So it's still the profit that you or your liveaboard basically creates will stay with the shark research. So you're still supporting it, you just won't have a shark scientist on board and maybe not get as much information about the citizen science. So then, a classic liveaboard will be the right choice for you. And we can give you ideas which boats are good, etc., or which itineraries are the fitting one for you. When you're looking for something meaningful, diving with a shark scientist, having someone where you can, ask 100 questions and you will get an answer. When you want to learn why you're diving, if you want to more, soak up all the knowledge that is there to maybe connect a little bit more with the animals that you see. If it's important for you to see the animals, but at the same time protecting them while you're seeing them, when it's important for you where obviously the profits are going, and when you want to have a feeling of, when you're leaving the Galapagos Islands, that you gave back in a way. I think then the citizen science expedition is exactly the right trip for you. And there's no right or wrong, right? And it's just something that we want to offer because I know which huge difference we all can make. And alone with the profits from last year, 2025, that is one of the biggest donations that we got so far. Which is just incredible, but also to see how much, it changes with you and how many like-minded people are coming together. It's just so beautiful to see, because obviously citizen science expedition attracting a certain kind of diver, and you all kind of think a little bit the same. And that is, I think, what makes it so special and the group so special. And I'm in contact with, quite a few of you still. And it's just beautiful to see how your diving holidays are changed, to see that you're still sending me pictures of whale sharks. It's just beautiful. So thank you for everyone who's doing that, and looking forward to meet all of you. That I see Paul is just in the chat. Hi, to meet you this or next year. I think, Paul, you signed up for 2027. It will be a pleasure to travel with you. And now it's your time. I'm already talking, oh my gosh, 20 minutes. Give me your questions. What do you want to know either about the citizen science trips, or what do you want to know about the Galapagos? So you just let me know. So let me see. Lynn from Dallas, hi. I just wanted to say hi. Really enjoyed it last week. Oh, Cornell, thank you so much. Paul, hi. Yes, Paul. So give me your questions. What would you like to know? You have anything in Instagram? No questions today. I guess I talk too much. But yeah, now give me any questions that you have. Everyone who's watching, and you have questions coming up later, as you know, you can either write it in the chat or you just reach out to me. I'm usually answering as fast as I can. Often it takes a day or two, but yeah, you can give me some questions. Also, if you have topics that you would like me to talk about, please let me know, because then I prepare that for one of our next live sessions. What is the temperature right now? That's a very good question, Nani, because usually I would say it's January, February, it is very, very warm. However, the sea surface temperatures are a bit colder than it's usual in the hot season. So right now, that what the divers report are the normal temperature in the cold season. So up in the north, in Wolf and Darwin, they had 26 degrees as an average. So a little bit warmer than the cold season, I would say. So you often get 26 there as well, 24. So really, really cold for the hot season, but warm. if that makes sense, but cold enough to see whale sharks, to see hammerheads. So it's a really good time to dive right now. And so I published, was it yesterday or before? I think yesterday. And Danny, I can put that on the replay. So if you're coming back later on Facebook, I will make the temperature shot for my last post. I put it in this chat as well, where you see the sea surface temperature. So the western side of Isabella is quite cold. Again, it is very good then to see molars, marine iguanas, and other things. So temperature colder than usual right now, but that is good for the marine world, as you will see more. So I think, was it 18 degrees on the western side of Isabella? I think, yeah, it was around 18 degrees. So it is colder than usual, because the hot season, obviously, it's usually like 30-degree water, 28-degree water, but it also means you will see more. I'm not sure if you have booked a trip, Danny, in the next weeks, but yeah, the conditions are incredible. I do have, I think, 2 of you, I'm not sure if you're in the chat. No, you're not today. They are heading out end of February to the Galápagos, so they will be very happy. So we do get reportings. So they had, the day before yesterday, we got a whale shark reporting, which is quite great. Unfortunately, not at ID, because the people didn't know that you can ID a whale shark. So if you see a whale shark, it's the left side or the right side, but prefer the left side, behind the gills, basically where the petrol fin is. This area, all the dots, that is where we can take the fingerprint. So basically, it's a little fingerprint of each whale shark, and then I'm coming next week. Well, that's very good, Danny. Next week, the temperatures seem to be the same. The conditions look incredible. So I talked with a few divers that just came back, and they loved it. They had many hammerheads. Unfortunately, visibility was not as good, because often divers think the visibility in the hot season is amazing, which is not. He reckoned it was 10, maybe 15 meters. So it wasn't as good visibility. However, the encounters were just amazing. I mean, I think, again, Galapagos is very hard not to be good. It is very easy to fall in love with it, because the number of animals that you can see, even in the hot season, is just incredible. Of course, the peak season, the colder season, is just even more fascinating, because it's just like another explosion of wildlife. You know, it's just so many that you can see, or if it's hammerheads, if it's Galapagos, if it's, I mean, whale sharks, obviously, molars. Yeah, it's just the dolphins. When I just think about the last year, 2025, we had so many dolphin encounters. I mean, very close and, I mean, playful, I would say even. It's yeah, we had so many hammerheads. We didn't, unfortunately, had as many whale sharks as I had hoped for, but the last 2 years were a little bit low, so I reckon that this year will be probably a very good year for whale sharks. So very excited. Can't wait to be back. No questions today? Very good. So, as I said, for everyone who's rewatching it, I will put it online as usual. So you can ask your questions afterwards. If they're coming up, I will answer them in the chat. Or if you want, I will offer it again 15 minutes from now, a Zoom call if you want to join, if you want to ask me questions and didn't want to ask it here in the chat or in front of everyone, not a problem at all. If you have personal questions, if you're ready to dive the Galapagos or anything you want to ask me, join me for the Zoom. Zoom link is up in the bio, in the link tree. So you just come in, or you write me a message to just schedule a time when it fits for you to talk about Galapagos. As you saw right now, I love to talk about the islands, so it will be a pleasure for me. Then, for everyone who joined, thank you so much for listening to me and to joining me. And I hope to see you next week, probably same time, with a topic that I have not selected yet. So if you have any ideas, I'm very happy to. I might make a question sticker as one of the stories where you can put in your topic that you would like me to talk about. As a reminder, if you're wondering about temperatures, we did the best months in the Galapagos to dive. We did already a live and about currents we did live. So feel free to watch them. Should be down in our feed. I think that's it. Then I wish you all a beautiful day or a beautiful evening, depending where you're coming from or streaming in from, and hope to see you next week. Bye.